Hello drummers, how you doing? Now I said I would try and send a little video every week while we were all on lockdown to keep you all entertained and engaged with your drums. Whoops, it's week 6. And this is video 3. I'm not sure how that happened, but better late than never, hopefully. Here's an idea for you. We've done this thing loads. 3 bars of groove, 1 bar of fill. And so on. We quite often, anytime we're working on a new idea or a sticking pattern or a rhythm or whatever, we'll do it for a while and then I'll be like, right, 3 bars of groove and a bar of fill, use it as a fill. Or if we're working on new grooves and you're trying to get a new groove settled in and you're just kind of getting used to it, and just when you're getting it on board, I'll be like, check some fills in, give us 3 bars of that and a fill. So we use it as a construct all the time, as a template for messing around with and developing and refining the ideas we're working with. So here's an idea, a shorter structure. Some of you will have had a go on this and some of you won't. This is a bar and a half a groove and half a bar of fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and filly 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 filly. So we'd be like, played the last one wrong, never mind it. So, bar and a half a groove, half a bar of fill, that's the whole idea. That's a nice little cycle to get used to. It means your fill isn't as kind of long and maybe makes you feel a little bit more focused for the fact that it's only 2 beats long. Apart from the last one that I played, which was a bar long, but don't mind me. So, bar and a half a groove, half a bar of fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and fill, 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 fill. Now, one more cycle, and then I'm gonna, one more template if you like, and I'm gonna throw some ideas at you. So this one is a 1 bar cycle, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill. So it's quite a relentless little loop. So there you go. Little tiny snappy fills just on the 4th beat of the bar. Now that idea is a really good one, and the last idea is they're really good ideas to play around with outside of these little fast cycles as well. So you could play as long as you want. You could play bars and bars and bars of groove, and then just stick in a little punchy fill on the 4, the 4th bar of whichever, the 4th beat of whichever bar you fancy. So those are our 3 templates. Here's a few ideas. What if we mix some of those up together? So we're going to take the 2 bar pattern that we did, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and filly 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 filly, and we're going to use that as the first 2 bars of the 4 bar pattern we did. So basically we've got a 4 bar pattern, we've got a long fill at the end, but we've also got a short fill in the middle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and fill, fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and fill, 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 fill. And I'll play it a couple of times. I'm going to keep the groove dead simple, and I'm going to use a groove, this is a top tip actually, I'm going to use a groove that goes kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, because it's easy to hear where to place your fills then. So we're going to go kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, fill, fill, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, fill, 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 fill. Have a little listen. We could do the same with the little tiny fill we did, the fill just on the fourth beat of the bar. We're going to put that in where we had that middle fill just now. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for our first bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and tiny fill for our second bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for our third bar, fill, 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 fill for the fourth bar. Groove, 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 tiny fill, groove, 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 fill, 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 fill. Check it out. I'll use the same groove. Again, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, and in this case, because the little fill in the middle of the sequence is only one beat long, it's going to be kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, fill, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, fill, fillity, fill, fill, fillity, fillity, fill, fill. So there are a couple of constructs, longer constructs, that use these little ideas. I'm going to throw one more of those at you, which is, alright, get this. Tiny fill is now going in your first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and tiny fill. 1 and 2 and longer fill, 2 beat fill, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and third bar is all going to be groove again, and the fourth bar is still going to be fill. So the third and fourth bars are the same. But so now we're going kick, snare, kick, kick, fill, kick, snare, fill, 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 kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, fill, fillity, filly, fill, filly, filly, fill, fill. So have a little listen, see if that makes sense. I'll try and keep the groove the same, to keep it nice and simple, so it's easy to hear where the fills are sitting. Simple grooves, simple fills. We'll get onto this in a second. The idea is to switch out these simple grooves and these simple fills to anything you fancy. Initially, when you're just getting used to the structure and where the fills land, these simple grooves and the simple fills can be really helpful because you can hear really clearly where you want to put your fill. And you can hear really clearly how long you're staying on your groove before your next fill. And then as you get used to those cycles, you can switch them out for anything you fancy. Where are we going next? Yeah, here's a thought. Right, little summary so far. We've got 3 different cycles of groove and fill. We've got a 4-bar cycle, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and fill. We've got a 2-bar cycle, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and fill. We've got a 1-bar cycle, 1 and 2 and 3 and filly, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill. Now you will have noticed that in a few of those little demonstrations I did, I was using different rhythms for the fills. The thing I'd like to do, oh hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Step back a pace. We got those 3 basic patterns that I talked about, and then the last thing we just did is we put together some of those patterns to make more complex structures for grooves and fills. So we've got a 4-bar stretch, but and a fill at the end, but maybe we've got a little fill in the middle, or maybe we've got a tiny fill in the middle, or maybe we've got a little fill in the middle and a tiny fill in the first bar. So we're kind of building different, putting the sections together different ways to make different frameworks, I guess. Right, that's what I was just going to say. You will have noticed I was using some different rhythms in some of those fills. Here's a nice way to tie together this idea with the ideas we were talking about in your last video and the video before. So, pick a subdivision. Cast your mind back to the last video. Quarter notes, eighth note triplets, 16th notes. Some of us did 16th note triplets and 32nd notes. Let's go 8th note triplets to start with. So pick a subdivision, 8th note triplets. I picked that, I know, because I can't hear you. So we're going to go with the 2-bar structure. The idea is with that is you can take the interest and the complexity and the difficulty of those fills as far as you want for whatever level you feel you're comfortable and however hard you want to push yourself, or however many ideas you've got to work with and how much experience you've had in picking up different ideas to work with. So if you've only had 6 lessons and then we're off into lockdown, and the idea of triplets is quite new to you because you haven't really kind of been drumming very long, you literally bar and a half a groove and play some triplets. 3 triplet, 4 triplet, single strokes, or right, left, left, right, left, left. So single strokes first. Really nice fills. If that's a bit like, oh, I've done loads of that, try something more interesting. You could go unisons. You could go linear triplets, like hands and feet. That's right, left, bass, right, left, bass. I've just realised I can't see my bass drum pedal. Oh yes, you can, it's all good. 1 and 2 and 3. And you could go like flam bass, bass, flam bass, bass. So there's all kinds of different combinations you can think of to use that triplet as a fill in this little setting. If you're all over that as well and you want to push yourself further, there's ideas like the Swiss triplet or flam accent. Ideas. If you're watching that and you're like, I have no idea what he's talking about, don't worry, we'll get to that in the future. So this is only a concept I'm talking about. I'm using the 8th note triplets as an example. You could take any one of the subdivisions we were looking at last time and you can use it as a fill in these different settings. What if we tried one of the second set of fill structures we looked at, groove and fill structures? So let's do the one where we did a bar with a mini fill at the end, a bar with a longer fill, a bar, a groove, and a whole bar fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and fill. 1 and 2 and filly, 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 filly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and fill, fillity, filly, fill, fillity, fillity, fill, fill. But we're going to think more triplety for our fills. So just think triplety. Might not all be triplets, but let's give it a go, see what happens. So we go 1, 2, 3. I was going to mention this at some point. As you get into these kind of particular kind of cycles, if you find them a bit prescriptive, if you're a bit like, oh no, I keep missing that first one, or oh, I don't like the length of that fill there, I want to do it this way around instead, go for it. Or if you're playing and you miss one of the little fills, don't sweat it, just keep playing. It's all the same thing really, just like next time you come round to it again, you'll be like, I'm going to put that in this time. So it's not a big deal if it's not like, it doesn't come out exactly the way you expect. The thing we're thinking about really is these structures and where we want to place fills inside a groove structure. And if you come up with your own ideas for that, all the better. Or if you sometimes hit it and you sometimes don't, that's completely cool. That's all part of the mental discipline that you develop in playing these kinds of structures, that you can always keep track of where you are and you know what you want to play when, or as in my case, you nearly always know. So yeah, that's a little example for you. I'll stop there because I could go on all day, as you well know if you've met me before. I'm just going to show you these. These are coming at you at the same time as the video link. So we got this. Here's a page with the ideas I've been talking about, and just to run you through it quickly. 3 bars of groove and a bar of fill. Bar and a half a groove and a shorter fill, 2 beats. And a short cycle of 1 bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and fill. These are the combination ones we looked at just now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and fill, 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 fill. Or this one, 3 bars of groove and a fill, but with a little snappy 1 beat fill in the middle, halfway through, marking your halfway point. Or this one, 1 and 2 and 3 and tiny fill, 1 and 2 and slightly longer fill, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and big long fill to finish. So that's those ideas laid out like that, because sometimes it's easier for people to keep an eye on it than to kind of try and remember it, and that's cool as well. It's a different approach, but it's all the same thing. Let's take an example, this one here. If you're playing this, I haven't written out all the grooves and I haven't written out any fills. I've just got these dashes for where the groove is at, and then the little red dashes and the little explainers where the fills are going in there. So you can use your own grooves, you can use your own fills. If you find this kind of way of working tricky, where it's a bit like, I don't know what groove to play, it doesn't say anything, it's just a bunch of dots, then here's another bunch of dots, which you might find helpful. What I've done is I've written out exactly the same 6 patterns, I've marked them the same, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. These are the 3 core patterns we looked at, 4 bar cycle, 2 bar cycle, 1 bar cycle. These are the combinations we looked at. 4 bar cycle with a fill in the middle, 4 bar cycle with a tiny fill in the middle, 4 bar cycle with a little tiny fill, a shorter fill and a longer fill at the end. So I've tried to kind of keep this the same as the other sheet, but I've written out the grooves. So if it's easier for you to see the grooves, see the fills, and then start swapping them out for your own stuff once you're used to it, then go for it that way. That's all groovy. So I'll send those out. Oh, if you're looking at this one, by the way, spot the deliberate mistake. Okay, it's not a deliberate mistake. It was just a mistake, and I forgot to pix it out before I scanned it and got it all ready to send to you guys. So there's a little spot the mistake in this one. I shall hang my head in shame if you spot it and send me a note back. Tell me where it is. Cool. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all eating lots of vegetables, getting lots of sleep, jumping around a bit and staying healthy and active. And obviously I hope you're playing like loads of drums, because we've got 6 weeks in the house. What else are you going to do? Drum, 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 drum. Hopefully I'll catch you soon. Nice one. Bye for now.